Pokemon's been out for about a week now, and for the most part, most people are very impressed by it. I personally am very happy with how well Pokemon has turned out so far. They've done a great job at basically rendering everything. The game is absolutely gorgeous and has a lot of things to do. The actual story might be the main downside to the actual entirety of the game, but Pokemon has never been a very heavily story-oriented game. It's always been about the creatures, about the fights, the encounters, the strategy, and just enjoying yourself playing with pets for the most part. Yamper is one of the early road Pokemon, and you get to play with him for the large part of the game. Picking your starter is one of the most pivotal moments in the game, and you get to stay with him for the entire journey, grow up in journey and adventure. And Sword and Shield does a wonderful job with this, without having too many legendaries or overpowering Pokemon that you end up picking up throughout your trip. Some of the gift Pokemon, such as Toxel, which evolves in Toxicity, that's a hard name, actually is not overpowering. Unlike some of the previous generations where you will get those extremely overpowered Pokemon that just blaze through the game for you. You don't get that in Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield actually has a good variety of Pokemon in the middle ground that can fight against each other and not feel like you're completely being overpowered. Some of the middle tier Pokemon are actually they're a little bit forgettable. Rookidee into Corvisquire into Corviknight. You kind of remember the Rookidee and you kind of remember the Corviknight, but poor Corvisquire is going to be overlooked. But it's still a very cool Pokemon. It's actually funny. Corviknight, when I saw it, I was like, this Pokemon's just going to be overshadowed by Skarmory for the rest of existence. It's not going to be able to live up to Skarmory's expectation of just being an insanely durable Pokemon. Dynamax raids, however, have really shaped the game. When we look back on this game in 5, 6, 7 years, that's what we're going to remember. Out of anything that we've had in this game, or drama, or any problem, it will be Dynamaxing and Dynamax raids that we remember. Max raid battles are absolutely fun. You get to start them really early on. My Slobber the Sobble was only level 13 when he got to do his first match against the Bunnelby. And then he slowly grew up and he got to fight things like this gigantic Togedemaru. And I love giant Pokemon. Totem Pokemon were absolutely fantastic when they added them in the previous generation. And I loved collecting them. I'm actually very sad that some of the Totem Pokemon weren't able to transfer forward. But Max Raid Battles give you a Totem form, a giant Pokemon of basically anything. And some of the Pokemon, you get to kind of have different strategies. So Pyukumuku was actually very surprising. It decided to... I forgot that it could basically fist using counter. So the Z move from last expansion is basically what Pyukumuku can do now, just whenever it's Dynamaxed. And some of the Pokemon are absolutely just scary. Like, does that look like the face of Mercy to you? That Greedent has it out for you. It just wants to eat your soul. The Pokemon are just absolutely gorgeous on HD. I've been thoroughly enjoying doing all sorts of max raid battles and collecting the new Pokemon. Hatterene here is just absolutely gorgeous, one of my favorite new Pokemon. Being able to play with your Pokemon might be a feature that a lot of us overlook, but a lot of effort was put into this. We were just watching the Zigzagoon go after the ball. If you happen to have picked Scorbunny, Scorbunny will actually play with us like a soccer ball and kick it back to you. And there's lots of other encounters and Pokemon that do various different things. See, Zigzagoon kind of runs in sideways fashions to bring it back to you. And it's happy. Colossal is one that I found by chance. I'd thrown the ball randomly and he went to retrieve it. And for some reason he decided to bounce it on the very top of his head. So he kind of just waddles his way over here and gives you the ball. I have no idea how he's managed to balance it up there. That is absolutely impressive in my opinion. But you can also trick your Pokemon if make them think you threw the ball. And they kind of turn around, get confused, look around. They're like, what did you just do? Some of the fights have been fun, and Metronome is back. Metronome is a technical record that you can get off of normal battles, normal Dynamax battles. And a lot of Pokemon can learn them. It's actually kind of cool. Clefable here was one of the trainer battles that I've ended up fighting in my journey. It started off with Brave Bird against my grass type, and then it decided to use Self-Destruct. So RNG, it's back. And some of the harder fights and harder Pokemon to catch are the overworld Pokemon, like this Gigalith here, that, well, makes it even more complicated when they decide to use Explosion on you. Whenever you're trying to catch one of the overworld Pokemon, make sure you save, because some of them have Explosion, some of them have other moves, and some of them just have low catch rates. Um, Also, apparently, if you encounter one that's shiny, it will be shiny regardless if you are resetting on it. So if you're resetting for nature and so on and so forth, that works. Here's a Gastrodon that, well, Gastrodon has an interesting set of moves that it gets from level up, and apparently this one still had Memento. So instead of catching a Gastrodon, the Gastrodon decided it wanted to, well, give its life for the cause. So, poor Gastrodon. The overworld spawning of Pokemon absolutely fantastic. And I like that they added the exclamation mark encounters. Exclamation mark encounters give us a little bit of the additional feel of what we had from the previous generations. Clado actually gets Nasty Plot this generation, which will be quite fun, but good luck catching one, because they also have Explosion at level 60. So, fun times. Oh, look, Charmeleon's fainted. Probably deserved it. Lapras has currently used Perish Song, and I have 2 turns to catch it. So, I was originally going to paralyze it with one of my Pokemons after swapping, but yeah, I was very sad when that crit capture didn't work. Crit capture is actually really cool. They've increased the amount of crit captures you can get, and there's an item from the Game Freak hall that you can pick up that increases your likelihood of getting crit capture. I actually get 2 crit captures on this Lapras, and thankfully, the second one, Lapras decides to stay in the ball. Lapras is a little bit of a rare spawn, so it took me a little bit to find that Lapras, so I would have been upset if I didn't get to keep it. Speaking of rare spawns, if you go to the Lake of Outrage's main island with the central rings, you'll actually find the evolutions outside. And this time I happened to find a Sylveon. And I make sure to save now because I've learned my lesson from how many times I've had it just go extremely poorly. But this Sylveon is absolutely gorgeous in the outfield. And when it finally notices you, you know, it kind of does a little bit of expression. And sometimes it'll move up closer to you. And if you wait long enough, so cute and adorable. The world of Pokemon that they've created has actually been absolutely gorgeous. When I first got to this town, if you see those two little statues next to the lighthouse, I didn't know what those were. And in some of the leaks that people looked at, those were statues that they thought were Pokemon. But, you know, they're just statues. Those are toxicities. If you happen to have played through the game, you'll remember exactly what they are, but they were a real, you know, head scratcher for a while. If you haven't played through the entire post-game, this is a bit of a spoil, but those are the 2 characters that you fight towards the end. They have some of the craziest hairstyles possible left in Pokemon. The post-game was pretty quick, pretty interesting, has a lot of fun fights. Fairly challenging if you haven't massively over-leveled them with Dynamax candies, but still quite fun. Speaking of Dynamax and getting Dynamax candies, there's a nice little handy-dandy map that I'll put in the description that I've been using in order to kind of run around. It shows where the Gigantamax Pokemon will hide inside of the dens, and basically the location of all the dens possible. There's a further guide that shows what's in each den, but good luck with your hunts, and I'll see you all in Galar.